Hey, it's News from Heaven. Today we're going to talk about how angels live in our feelings, which is news to me because I didn't think anybody lived in my feelings, let alone angels are hanging out there. I would have swept, I would have vacuumed those feelings out. They're just a mess right now. Like and subscribe. And what we're going to try to do here is take this concept of some kind of like interpersonal relationships that's so close that it happens inside our psychology with, these bright beings that are through pop culture and through religious literature and all that, and apply it to the day-to-day struggles that we go through. What I'm hoping for all of you is that something in this episode gives you tools to deal with the negativity that comes at us all, that all the black clouds in your mind that are pushing in on you and trying to make you miserable, and that life seems fearful. Something about this concept of how angels connect with us there is going to help lift that up and free us. So, Last Judgment is the book. Number 9 is the number. Download it for free from the description. Let's read along. All right, price of admission right away, in my humble opinion. Humankind is the foundation on which heaven rests. Humankind, that would be us, is the foundation on which heaven rests. Oh, this is how I thought it was. You had us, humankind, a couple of people here hanging out, and you've got heaven, which is composed of angels, all right? And angels are up here. They're in yellow, so you can tell that they rock. And they have all kinds of cool powers, and they have all kinds of cool perspective, and they're looking down. And the relationship between angels and us was a one-way relationship, and it consists of help. Like, they help us, they look down, and they know our struggles, and they lend assistance from their resources, and that's how it goes. But what Swedenborg is saying here is that very much happens. Sure, there's definitely this help going on, but in some way, we are providing a service to angels as well. And it's a pretty vital service because while you don't spend that much time in the foundation of your house, if it disappeared or if it cracks, your property loses a ton of value. So somehow we are, in our own way, helping angels. And right away, I want to say that when you're sitting here, and it can feel at times like, we go up and down in life. Sometimes good things are happening. Sometimes things are not going our way, and it can feel like, who am I? There's nothing. What do I contribute? Do I matter at all? Am I doing anything useful? It doesn't seem like I'm impacting the world. Just in some way, and we're going to find out exactly what that way is, you are providing this service, or you are allowing, in some way, the existence of angels, the living conditions of angels. So just you, what you're doing there is providing this amazing aid to these amazing beings that are in turn helping us all. So right there, tell that to your headway there, that no matter what, you're doing something good. And check this next sentence out. This is because humankind was created last, and what is created last serves as a base for all the higher things that precede it. That's puzzling because, according to Swedenborg, these two things, human beings and angels, are not separate species. They are all human. It's just different stages of life. Like when we die, we can go up and through regeneration and all that, eventually become human. So there's not supposed to be angels were created before us. And then there's us. What's he talking about? Let's see if he sorts it out down here. Creation began, and here we're going to get a little bit philosophical. This is the philosophical warning icon. So that's always how it is. We go from person stuff to this like metaphysics kind of stuff, and then back in. I like it, and it helps kind of tie it together. Creation began, but I'm just saying, don't go to sleep, or if you do, I'll wake you up at the end of the paragraph. Creation began from the highest or inmost things, because it began from the divine, and it proceeded to the last or outermost things, and there it came to rest. So there's, in some way, you've got the divine here radiating outward, not just downward, although they're the same kind of thing. Somehow the divine is radiating out in creation. This is a beautiful picture of creation. The outermost level of creation, but what does that even mean? The outermost level of creation is the physical world including our globe of lands and seas and everything on it. Okay. So what we are saying is that the physical was created last. That's what it means. Not necessarily that the angels were created before, but the matrix in which they now live. The spiritual world was created, and space and time isn't really what's going on with God, but you can think about it in this way. So we got physical world last. Now, here's where it gets cool. Once all this was finished, then humanity was created. And into humanity was gathered every level of the divine design, from first to last. Things on the first level of that design were incorporated into what is inmost in us. Things on the outermost level were incorporated into what is outermost in us. The result is that we have been made embodiments of the divine design. That's another thing you can tell your head clouds. When they say, "Who are you? You're nothing." You can just say, "Oh, I'm an embodiment of the divine design. I'm an iat. This is how I read this. We have, let's say, there's the vital essence of God, right? And then Swedenborg describes these layers coming out. You have, a celestial heaven right around, or some kind of spiritual matrix that even angels can't get into. Then you have, the spiritual world where angels and spirits are and all that. And then you have outermost physical. All of these layers, we are the meeting place for all these layers. Because we interact with the physical. The idea that we've got a body and it's made of physical stuff and it reacts to the physical world, very much a citizen of that layer of creation, makes sense. But what Swedenborg is asserting is that within that, you have things in us, sort of our thought processes, some of our higher feelings that reflect the spiritual level that's behind that. If you would just stay there, a little marker. And then, it doesn't want to stay. Okay, pretend this is just really going to be there. Oh, there we go. In a little bit. Then, within that, it's spiritual. It's harder to see. Within that, then you have these higher kind of celestial things. Higher kind of celestial things are in here. It's not really important. You already know where I'm going with this diagram, but there's just, once I get started. Then, but even within that, in the highest thoughts and feelings that you have, there's some of this direct connection with God. Doesn't that look like there we go. That is a direct connection with God. That in you, there's a highest innermost self that we're barely even conscious of, but this is a continual input from God right into us. This is where our life comes from, but also like the first rudiments of our highest thoughts and feelings. It's where we're kind of led through. That layer of creation is there. And then you have everything else going all the way out into us. This is why everything within and about us is as much from heaven as it is from this world. As much from heaven. We have as much, which are we? You would think we're citizens of the world, but we're as much heaven as we are this world. From heaven, how so? We get the content. This is so tangible. It's not just a nice quote to put on a card. From heaven, we get the contents of our minds, and from the world, we get the contents of our bodies. That is, things from heaven flow into our thoughts and feelings and cause them to take shape depending on how those things are received by our spirit. While things of this earth flow into our sensation and feeling of pleasure and cause them to take shape depending on how those things are received by our body, although only in a way that is adapted to suit the thoughts and feelings of our spirit. Wow. Good job for me for finishing that whole sentence. Bad is we're going to have to go back and look through all of that. So first of all, the meeting place that we represent, that we really are, I wish that this diagram was a little better, but just imagine it. We really are this meeting of all the levels. That right now, you have me in this room, you have you in your room looking at your phone, wherever you are. We've got the physical side. I can wave around my hand. I can smash this microphone. I'm really going to do it. Okay, turn your volume down. And that is obviously there. But the decision maker in me that's like, hey, let's make a dumb joke about hitting the microphone. That's spiritual. Like the place in us that reacts and considers and drives the physical machine. Think of how present your consciousness is in this situation. That's how immediate that this interface or this interchange between heaven and earth is, that we are the gathering together of all these layers. And there's even shades of things going on with you, the motivations behind your motivations, whatever, the deepest parts of you that we're not even aware of. All that is coming into this instance here, which is exciting. But as you know, you may think our consciousness is getting things from heaven. That stuff in my consciousness is not heaven. It's annoying and weird. But that is because receptivity, everything changes on the way down. That is things from heaven thrown to such, it takes shape, depending on how those things are received by our spirit. So we have our little receptor mechanisms here. And the stuff that's coming down out of God is then amped down, whatever you do with electricity, to a form that we can use. And even though it sometimes comes through negatively, after we've got our kind of ego concerns in it, it still can be trying to pull us up into what's good. But one last thing, and then you can all wake up, because then we'll start talking about how angels live in our feelings. One last thing, though, in this sort of metaphysics lesson, is that it's not as simple as the physical, the earth physical side is just the body, and everything conscious is the spirit, because he says things of the heaven flow into the spirit, while things of this earth flow into our sensations and feelings of pleasure and cause them to take shape depending on how those things are received by our body, although only in a way that is adapted to suit the thoughts and feelings of our spirit. So it goes beyond just, there's sensory, but then also the lower things, the kind of pride, the jealousy, this stuff that's outermost, or what some people would call shallow, that is connected more closely to the physical than the stuff that's deeper. And you can sometimes feel this, like these two rivers converging and one trying to alter the course of the other. If you're like, man, I didn't fall asleep at all during that, that's so great, I want to learn more. I know chances of that are low. Check this out. These are all these great references. Swedenborg is very thorough. For material in support of this, see several relevant points in heaven and hell, particularly that the whole heaven, grasped as a single entity, reflects a single individual. So really, I was saying, okay, creation is more like this little circle here, and we reflect it, but really us, this little mishmash, is more like the shape of creation. And the same can be said for each community in heaven. Therefore, every angel is in a perfect human form. This is because of the Lord's divine human nature. There's more in the chapters on correspondence of everything in heaven with everything in the human being, on the correspondence of everything in heaven with everything in earthly, and on heaven's form. Download the book. Go check that stuff out yourself. Now, I told you we're going to talk about how angels live in our feelings, but we're out of time. So I'll get to that next time, I promise. Like and subscribe. I'm kidding. We're doing that right now. As this design of creation shows, there is such an unbroken connection between the first and last that when we have both in view, they make a single whole, in which what is prior cannot be separated from what is subsequent, exactly as a cause cannot be separated from its effect. By the same token, the spiritual world cannot be separated from the earthly world, or the latter from the former. So, the heaven of angels cannot be separated from humankind, or humankind from the heaven of angels. Now, there's two statements in here. You've got that the heaven of angels cannot be separated from humankind, or humankind from the heaven of angels. So if we label this second one number 2, I get number 2. You think we couldn't live without angels, angelic support. They're connected to God. They somehow hook us up with whatever spiritual charge allows us to live. But this first one, that the heaven of angels can't exist without us, that I hadn't thought of. And look at this. If you think about how closely this is linked, a cause can't be separated from its effect. So like the stone dropping in the water can't be separated from the ripples that come out. That's the nature of our relationship here. It's not just that these angels are saying, okay, we'll hang out with you because you don't have any other friends, but it's like we are one. We're the same unit here. We're the stone and you're the ripples. We are working together. One has to have the other, which is an amazing thing to remember when you're slogging through life and it just feels like, am I doing anything? That you are part of a larger system and playing this crucial role in it. Therefore, the Lord has provided that each, look at this, man. Don't freak out. Therefore, the Lord has provided that each does work that is of benefit to the other. Each does work that is a benefit to the other. The heaven of angels to humankind, and humankind to the heaven of angels. You're doing something that helps angels. You are doing angels and heaven a solid. And in what way? Actually, yeah, we're going to get specific about that too. That is why, even though the dwelling places of angels are in heaven, right, and appear to be at a remove from the dwellings where we live, whatever, just type your street address in the comments. Just kidding. The angels are still right with us in our feelings for what is good and what is true. The angels are still right with us. Right with us. In our feelings for what is good and true. When it seems like, where are these angels? You look around, you don't see them, right? You just see sort of the massive worry and frightening nature of life as it appears. Where are the angels? We don't see them. They're right here. They're right with the feelings for what's good and true. In our feelings for what is good and true. Our seeming to be separate from them is only a matter of outward appearance. Yeah, it's one. We're all the same thing. As you may conclude from the chapter in Heaven and Hell that deals with space and heaven, reference alert. Now, you're probably at this point saying, rip off, clickbait. You said angels live in our feelings. This is that just saying the angels are right with us in our feelings for what is good and what is true. You kind of bent that to get a headline. I forgive you, though, because you're trying your best and you obviously need some compassion. No, look at this, number 5. As for the dwellings of angels being right with us in our feelings for what is good and true, vindication. That is the intent of the Lord's words. And before we read this quote, no, we'll read it right now. Those who love me will keep my word, and my Father will love them, and we will come to them and make a home with them. Like an actual, literal home. We, I would think, being angels. As for the dwelling of angels being right with us in our feelings, angels live in our feelings. But look, feelings for what is good and what is true. What is that work that we do that benefits heaven? I think it's whenever we love what's good and love what's true. When we do that you ever have that experience of you're sitting there admiring something, understanding something, perceiving something, feeling for someone, loving something good. That feeling, which you think is just an internal, what they call it, qualia, where it's just an internal isolated experience, you are creating real estate there. You are providing, in that feeling, you're providing a home for heaven. This is the outermost layer. That's the foundation of heaven. Everybody, think about everybody's feelings for what's good and true in the world right now. How much of that is going on? This moment I'm talking about. That is collectively what heaven is sitting on. That's the thing heaven's putting its weight on. And that you can be a part of that every time you love something that's good and that's true. What is said of the Father and the Lord in this verse also includes heaven, because wherever the Lord is, heaven is there. In fact, it is the divine nature emanating from the Lord that makes heaven, as you can see in Heaven and Hell. Yeah, let's end with one more reference. The takeaway is, when we're sitting there, as I've already said, loving what's good and true matters. The little things you do that you think go unnoticed, the struggles that you're having, the things you're doing to try to push in that direction, we are part of this grand project, and we are one with heaven and supporting it. And that's something to remember, because that can't be taken away from you by the rise and fall of good and bad things in life. That's always going on, and that's exciting, and that's the news from heaven. Did you like it? Hopefully so. Like and subscribe. Remember, as you go out there, you've got these angels living, dwelling in your good and true thoughts and feelings. Let me know in the comments. Did you have any connection that felt like it was that connection this week? Did any of these concepts help? I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for joining me, and go out, have a good time.